Have you ever wondered why Christians keep struggling with the same sin over and over again? Many people pray. Many people feel bad about what they've done. Many people promise themselves that they would stop. But somehow the cycle continues. One of the biggest hidden reason is something many people don't talk about, and that is shame. In this video, we are going to talk about why shame keeps Christians trapped in sin and how understanding this can help people finally begin moving toward freedom. Many Christians sincerely want to live better lives. They want to honor God. They want to grow spiritually. They want to break habits that are damaging their lives. But when they fall into sin, something powerful often happens emotionally. They feel shame. Shame is different from guilt. Guilt says, I did something wrong. But shame, on the other hand, says, there is something wrong with me. And when shame begins to take over someone's thinking, it can quickly trap them in a cycle that becomes very hard to break. Let's look at a few pointers of shame. Number one, shame makes people hide instead of seek help. One of the first things shame does is make people hide. When someone feels ashamed of their behavior, they, their instinct is often to withdraw. They avoid conversations. They hide their struggle. They pretend everything is fine. Even spiritually, this hiding can happen. Instead of praying honestly, people may feel uncomfortable praying at all. Instead of seeking support, they keep their struggles secret. But isolation is one of the greatest allies of destructive habits. When struggles remain hidden, they often grow stronger. The truth is that healing almost always begins with honesty. But shame convinces people that honesty will lead to rejection. So instead of seeking help, they hide. Number two, shame creates a cycle of defeat. Another reason shame is dangerous is that it creates a cycle of defeat. The cycle often looks like this. First comes temptation. Then the person gives in to the temptation. Afterward, they feel guilt and shame. They promise themselves they will never do it again. But because they feel ashamed, they hide the problem instead of addressing it. And because the problem is hidden, the cycle repeats. Over time, this pattern can make people feel hopeless. They begin to think, I'll never change. I'll always struggle with this. But that belief isn't because, but that belief itself becomes part of the trap. Point number three. Shame distorts a person's view of God. Another hidden problem with shame is that it can distort how people see God. When someone feels ashamed, they may begin to imagine that God only sees their faults. They may feel that God is constantly disappointed in them. They may feel unworthy of forgiveness. But this picture of God is not the one presented in Scripture. The Bible repeatedly shows that God invites people to come to Him even when they fail. In fact, the very people who feel broken are often the ones who need His grace the most. Shame tries to convince people that they must fix themselves before they approach God. But the message of the gospel is the perfect opposite. We come to God because we need help, not because we have already solved our problems. Number four, shame attracts identity, or shame attacks identity. Another way shame traps people is by attacking their identity. Instead of thinking, I made a mistake, people begin to think, I am a failure, I am weak, I am beyond help. This shift in thinking is extremely powerful because when people believe negative things about themselves, they often begin living the way to match that belief. But healthy spiritual growth requires a totally different mindset. Instead of defining themselves by their worst moments, people must begin learning to see themselves through the lens of growth, forgiveness, and transformation. Point number five, shame loses power when it is brought into the light. The most important truth about shame is this: shame loses most of its power when it is brought into the light. When someone speaks honestly about their struggles with a trusted mentor, counselor, or spiritual leader, something powerful happens. The burden becomes lighter. The problem becomes clearer. The solution becomes possible. This is why many people experience their first real step towards freedom when they stop hiding and start being honest. If you have ever struggled with shame, you are not alone. Many people experience the same battle, but shame does not have to define your future. Healing begins when three simple but powerful steps take place. First, honesty. Be honest about your struggles with yourself and with God. Second, perspective. Remember that growth is a journey. Change rarely happens overnight. And third, support. Seek wise people who can encourage and guide you. When shame is replaced with honesty and grace, real change becomes possible. Shame tries to keep people trapped in silence, but silence is where struggle grow stronger. Freedom begins when people stop hiding and begin seeking truth, support, and spiritual renewal. No matter how many times someone has struggled, their story is not finished. Growth is still possible, and the future is still worth building. If this video helped you understand the struggle of shame more clearly, consider sharing it with someone who may need some encouragement. And if you want more videos about overcoming spiritual struggles and building a life of wisdom and strength, subscribe to this channel. And remember, your past does not have to control your future.